multimedia, teguh mendukung harapan agung negara, penyahut seruan wawasan negara, unggul di mata dunia. Langkah seiring mengejar cita di hari muka, kan terus maju bersama menuju cahaya ketulusan jiwa, semangat berusaha, unggul di mata dunia. Ke puncak menara dituju, keunggulan cita yang luhur, melangkah kita bersama, bersatu, bersinar permata negara, dikagumi serata dunia, selamanya akan gemilang di persada dunia multimedia. Langkah seiring mengejar cita di hari muka, kan terus maju bersama menuju cahaya ketulusan jiwa, semangat berusaha, unggul di mata dunia. Ke puncak menara dituju, keunggulan cita yang luhur, melangkah kita bersama, bersatu, bersinar permata negara, dikagumi serata dunia, selamanya dan gemilang di persada dunia multimedia. Terunggu di mata dunia.
Very pleasant afternoon, I bid to all. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to today's talk, which is Ask a Lawyer, entitled Domestic Violence. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being with us today. The talk is held by MMU Faculty of Law, which will be streamed live on MMU Malaysia YouTube channel and Multimedia University Facebook page. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, tag, and share the Facebook Live with your family and friends. I am Nur Shafiqah Shafiyah, and I'll be your host for today's talk. I will be introducing our speaker for today, which is Dr Nithiya Thiahhan, as our alumni from MMU. And with that, I shall begin with giving out her education background for today. Dr Nithiya had completed her primary education at SK Bandar Tenggara Johor, which then she completed her secondary education at SMK Tinggi Keluang Johor and SMK Bandar Tenggara Johor. She then further pursued her tertiary education at Multimedia University Melaka. She was admitted to the Malaysian Bar in July 2010 and had become a member of the Selangor State Bar ever since. She is a practicing lawyer of 12 years with areas of expertise including conveyancing, family dispute, divorce, child custody, child sexual abuse, and corporate dispute consultant. She was involved in an array of Child Sexual Abuse Awareness and Workshop nationwide. She was also elected as president of the Malaysian Humanitarian and Welfare Association. Welcome to today's talk, Dr. Nithiya.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, Ms. Shafiqah, for that kind introduction. Okay, today's topic, domestic violence. Okay, if you see cases of domestic violence are on the rise and have quickly become a social pandemic. If left unchecked, it will contribute to the inevitable decline of society as a whole. The Domestic Violence Act 1994 is a law specifically enacted for the management and prevention of such cases. I'm honored to be invited to speak today to address this urgent matter.
Thank you, Dr. Nithiya, for the introduction. We shall now move on to the first question for today's topic, which is domestic violence. In your opinion, can be categorized as domestic violence, and what are the types of domestic violence?
Okay. In general, domestic violence can be described as the power misused by one adult in a relationship to control another person. It is intentional and a pattern of controlling behavior, and it is not caused by anger, stress, alcohol, or drug abuse. Domestic violence can begin at any stage in a relationship, and it is not physical violence alone. It takes many forms: physical, emotional, psychological, sexual, and even financial, and can often be a combination of several of these.
Wow, I didn't know that there was so many types of domestic violence available. That sounds very harsh indeed. Next, we shall look upon why do women or victims of domestic violence often remain silent or slow to act when abused.
Okay, it is very common where women or victims may feel ashamed and blame themselves for the abuse, and they want to keep what's going on in their house as a secret. Uh, in my experience handling domestic violence cases, the main reason is that they can't afford to live. They have nowhere to go, which means they can't support themselves and their children financially. Another reason is that women fear that reporting domestic violence might result in losing their children to social welfare department. I've been doing so many awareness programs on this subject nationwide. The goal here is to help the victims, not to victimize them further by taking away their children. We must understand that living an abusive relationship is a very long and difficult process. Some other reasons for this, where they want to keep silent on this matter, they're not coming out to report, are that they feel ashamed and reluctant to tell people or seek help, or they might have received negative response when they reach out to someone for support in the past, and they feel it is the children's best interest to stay in the relationship. And some of them, they being isolated from their family and no proper support structure for them to survive once they come out from the relationship. And the knowledge about the services available can be limited to them, meaning they don't know where to go, where to begin with. And also it's quite common where the victims still have feelings for their partner and hope that the relationship will get better. In my experience, many women who came to me for help. I have made them to finally leave their partner, and they're leading a better life now.
Wow, that is very insightful indeed. Now, what would like to say, Dr. Nithiya, to these victims of domestic violence? What are your advices for them to help them gain courage to leave that relationship?
Okay, if you are a victim of domestic violence, okay, the bottom line here is to reach out for help. If you're experiencing domestic violence but unable to leave immediately, whenever there is a chance, you may let trusted friends and neighbors know about your situation. Reach out to someone who can provide support to help you to manage the stress, as well as provide a safe place to stay, food, and also childcare. The safest place for someone escaping domestic violence is one that's not familiar to the abuser, meaning it should not be very easy for the abuser to come after you. And if you believe your life is in danger, please call for police assistance. Okay, in Malaysia, there is one-stop crisis centers where it's located at emergency rooms of government hospitals where doctors provide medical treatment for any injury and also collect medical evidences which can be used in court later on. They also can help you access police protection, shelter, legal advice, and counseling via medical social worker or social welfare officer, meaning JKM. An emergency protection order may also issued by the social welfare officer. Okay, the emergency protection order can be also obtained directly by the victim at any time by calling Talian Nur 15999, which is available 24 hours a day. For example, if they couldn't go to police station or if they couldn't go to hospital, they can it's just a phone call away. Okay, they can call to Talian Nur and seek for emergency protection order. Always remember, no one deserves to be abused. The abuse is not your fault and you are not alone.
Thank you, Dr. Nitya, for the various alternatives that has been provided by the government, because sometimes these victims, they it's not that they don't want to escape that environment, but it's just they don't know where to go and where to reach help. As of now, we all know that we have been hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, and it had made an impact to all areas. So now, um, do you believe that misunderstandings can actually lead to domestic violence or not? And how do you define the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the domestic violence itself?
Okay, misunderstandings usually lead to arguments, and it is quite common in any marriage or any committed relationship. It's quite impossible when there's no argument or misunderstandings in relationship. But when an argument escalates to verbal, emotional, or physical abuse, this is not normal and is a very serious matter. With governments across the world enacting lockdown measures to curb the spread of COVID-19 virus, there have been many unintended consequences as well. For example, anxiety, suicide, and mental disorders are already increasing worldwide. Among them is the alarming increase in reports of domestic violence. Movement control order intended to protect the public and prevent widespread of virus left many victims trapped with their abusers. In addition to this, Some parents are considered essential workers and can't work from home. Some are required to work from home. Closure of schools and childcare facilities. Okay, the added stress of balancing work, childcare, and children's education has led to a rise in conflicts, and it just grew bigger and bigger and more frequent. It is possible leading to explosive episodes of violence at home. So in Malaysia, Talian Kasih, as I mentioned earlier, reported there's a high number of calls since the beginning of the MCO last year, most of which were said to be related to domestic violence. And in Malaysia, the government made several public service announcements to spread awareness about Talian Kasih hotline since the beginning of MCO. As a result, the number of domestic violence related calls begins to increase. It's quite shocking actually to get to know this information. This shows the awareness programs are actually encouraging women to finally step forward and report their situation. Meaning previously, it's not during MCO or before MCO, it has always been a very common practice among victims where they don't go out and report. So the more awareness programs we provide to them, the more victims will actually come up and report.
Thank you, Dr. Nithiya, for giving us an insight on the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on domestic violence. As we all know that being stuck in the same roof with someone violent is never a good image to be in. With that, I thank Dr. Nithiya for your time and for spending your time with us today. And I would like to pass on to Mr. Francis to give a summary of today's talk.
Thank you, Shafiqah. All right. Also, thank you to Dr. Nithiya for coming on board for this talk. I hope that people take back a lot of useful points that they can use in the event that they themselves may be experiencing something similar to what is discussed today, or they know or they come across someone who they feel may need this assistance, this help, or someone to reach out to. In the meantime, I would like to thank everyone from the Faculty of Law for assisting us in helping us to organize this, students and the faculty as well as the Center for Alumni in Multimedia University. Thank you very much for helping us organize this. We at the Faculty of Law are trying our very best to help the society as well as the communities around us to empower themselves with legal knowledge as well as with knowledge that is related to the law, like today, that can be useful in their daily lives to help them through what problems or difficulties they may have, also to illuminate the idea of what the law can be, because it could be a little mystifying. So to make it a little clearer so people understand the law better. Thank you very much, Shafiqah.
Thank you, Mr. Francis, for the summary. And I thank Dr. Nithiya again for your time here today and for giving us an insight on how the scenario is regarding domestic violence in Malaysia. So for those victims of domestic violence out there, please know that you're not alone. You have ways to help you set up already by the government. Just go and ask for help. And also, please know that there are people around you who loves you so much, and don't sacrifice yourself just because you have the mentality that you cannot run away from a violent situation. Lives matter and you matter. With that, I end today's talk. Thank you so much for spending your time to have to watch this talk today. Thank you.